The slap heard around the world. The Oscars. What happened? Well, Will Smith went up on stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock right in the face for making a joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. And let me tell you, it was unexpected. It's all over the news. And this is a video about what would the legal consequences be for someone in Will Smith's position if that charge is prosecuted. So stay tuned if you're interested in this type of celebrity law or just criminal law in general. This is the video for you. Again, my name's Attorney Lance Fryrear, and I've got a law firm in Lidwell, Washington. We've been defending people charged with crimes more than 20 years. And I woke up this morning and heard about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Now, I didn't watch it live, but I've seen a lot of the videos since then. And it's pretty clear that this was real. This was not something planned. This was not something staged. And so what would happen and what could happen to Will Smith or someone in Will Smith's position, let's call him Bill Smith, for going up and slapping someone in front of millions of people? So I'm going to put out a legal analysis of what would happen in Washington State. What could be charged? What would the defenses be? And what would the role of Chris Rock be in this type of situation as a victim of an assault? So let's just start with the facts again. We have somebody on video walking up on a stage in a place where they weren't supposed to be at the time and just full-on slapping another person in the face. So in Washington State, Will Smith could be charged with assault in the fourth degree. Now, assault in the fourth degree is a gross misdemeanor offense. That carries a maximum penalty of a $5,000 fine and 1 year in jail. And so that's not a felony, because felonies are for more serious injuries or weapons. From what I could see, there wasn't any type of serious injury in this case. In fact, Chris Rock just kept on riffing and talking about what happened. He actually called it something along the lines of the greatest night in television history. So we know we're talking assault in the fourth degree. So that's one of the charges that Mr. Smith could be facing. So what would we do about assault in the fourth degree charge? Well, assault in the fourth degree charge, we would not be able to defend that it didn't happen, because again, there's millions of witnesses and we have it all on tape. Though if we were to try to defend that case, we would likely try to mitigate the situation by saying that Mr. Smith was provoked by the insults against his wife. Of course, the other side would argue, hey, it's just comedy, this is standard, and this was totally an overreaction to Mr. Smith's part. We could mitigate the fact that there were no injuries, and we could also mitigate that, hey, maybe Chris Rock doesn't want anything bad to happen to Will Smith out of this, right? I mean, the publicity might end up helping him in this type of situation. So that would be some of the things that we could do as far as to mitigate. We could also have Mr. Smith do some classes. Maybe he needs to do an anger management class, right? I mean, that was just words. So, is it ever really justified to use violence in response to words? And I think most people would say not, but maybe we could use this to get some education to try to mitigate the situation. So would someone in Will Smith's position go to jail in this situation? And I think the answer is that depends. It depends on prior criminal history. Let's make an assumption that there is no prior criminal history. Then I would find it's pretty unlikely that someone would be sentenced to jail for this, even though the maximum penalty includes jail. If there's a guilty finding in the case, there'd likely be a fine, there'd likely be some probation, and again, maybe some educational classes if it didn't already happen in part of the resolution. What we would try to do in defending that type of charge is try to get some type of alternative program to try to get a dismissal, or believe it or not, we could even use a statute called compromise of a misdemeanor. We have videos in this on this station about that, but compromise of a misdemeanor says if the victim signs a statement, Chris Rock signs a statement saying, I'm civilly satisfied for my damages, then the court in its discretion could dismiss the charges, if there were any, against somebody in Mr. Smith's position. So those are some ways that we could defend that charge. Another charge that could happen, and not a lot of people have thought about, is probably criminal trespass. Mr. Smith could face a criminal trespass charge because it's pretty clear he was not supposed to go on stage. He was not allowed on stage at that time. Now, again, this celebrity is probably not going to get charged with that, but someone, just a standard audience member, right? If a standard audience member, if I were in the audience and went up and just slapped Chris Rock, let me tell you, I'd be getting charged with multiple things, wouldn't I? So criminal trespass means, being somewhere you're not supposed to be at the time without permission of whoever controlled that area. It could probably it would be criminal trespass first degree because it's in a building. What would be something akin to that in a normal real life situation? Well, imagine I've seen that type of case at a bar where, hey, someone's in a bar and then all of a sudden they end up behind the bar, serving themselves a drink or something. Well, it's pretty clear you're not allowed to do that. And so in some situations, you could get charged with criminal trespass for being in a building where you're allowed to be, but being in an area that you're really not supposed to be in, on purpose at least. If it was an accident, then maybe that's not a crime. But in this case, it definitely was on purpose. And as far as the consequences, the same legal analysis applies, except there would be no compromise of a misdemeanor possible. Chris Rock couldn't sign to get Mr. Smith out of the problem through that type of compromise of a misdemeanor because, it's whoever controlled the stage. It would have to be somewhere higher up at the Oscars, I think, in that type of situation. So what role does a victim play in these cases, right? Clearly, as far as the criminal law is concerned, Chris Rock is the victim. Now, I've already heard, and this is the day after the incident of the Oscars, I've already heard or read, I would say, that Chris Rock declined to file a police report. So I don't think anything's actually going to happen from this. But in this state, would Chris Rock have to file a police report for Will Smith to be prosecuted? And that answer is no, not necessarily, right? The police could pick it up on their own. The police saw what happened, right? They don't need testimony from Chris Rock except for him possibly to say that, hey, it wasn't all a put on. They could proceed on that charge on their own. In Washington State, the plaintiff in a case in a criminal matter is not the victim. The plaintiff is the government. So practically speaking, the government would prefer to have a complaining witness initiate an action, but they don't have to, right? They can take action on their own. It's a prosecuting attorney that, for the most part, is the entity. The prosecuting attorney is the entity or the person that files charges. So could Will Smith, at least in this state, be prosecuted if it happened here? Yes, he could be, even without the victim's participation. In fact, it happens all the time in domestic violence cases. All the time. Plenty of domestic violence cases has someone else seen something. There's a squabble in a parking lot, and that do-gooder or passerby thinks they see an assault. They call the police. The police show up, and the parties involved in the incident say, no, there was no assault. The do-gooder says, yes, there was, and the police oftentimes will charge that case even without the victim's cooperation, participation, or even confirmation of what happened. And here we know what happened because we saw it. So does a victim have the ability to control what happens in a case? No. A victim does not have the ability to control what happens in a case. They can say their wishes, they can influence things, but they have no absolute control. Even in the compromise of misdemeanor type point of view, if they sign saying they don't mind if a case is dismissed, that's still up to a judge. It's not absolutely up to the alleged victim. So let's say that the victim has injuries, they need medical treatment. Well, they've suffered financial losses. Well, then restitution could be ordered, and the victim would have to put forward how much the restitution was. And in Washington State, a court can order up to 2 times the actual loss from the victim. In other words, if the victim said, hey, I lost $100,000 in movie deals, well, maybe that's too speculative, it's too unknown. But let's say they say, hey, here's my bill for $1,000 for my medical treatment. Well, that definitely could be ordered against someone in Will Smith's position. So I hope you found this useful. I thought I'd put this video out because it's a pretty unusual situation that we've all got to see or can easily see some type of non-felony assault happen with people that we've been exposed to. And I thought, again, it's a good example where we could say, hey, here's how it would play out in a Washington state court, at least because, you know, this is a pretty typical type of case. A typical case is a unwanted touching, and that's assault 4, without serious injuries. And, now what do we do about it? And that's pretty much everyday life when it comes to criminal defense, when it comes to what prosecutors do, what police do, and what courts do. So thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe. And if you happen to have a criminal matter in Washington State, you can reach out to my firm. My name is Lance Fryrear. We've been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years. We'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.